What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of Christmas Bloody Christmas. Let's get into it. So a new Christmas horror movie is out, and we've had a few this year, but it seems a little bit on the lower end this year for some reason than other years, and maybe it's just the fallout of the big C, you know what I'm talking about, that we can't say here. But yeah, Joe Begos is the director of this movie. He's the writer, director, and producer. He's done other movies like VFW, Bliss. He did The Mind's Eye, many other films that I really enjoyed. It kind of took me a little while to really get into a lot of his work, but I actually really appreciate what he's doing. Now, for those of you who are into horror, but maybe more in the mainstream kind of thing, this might be a movie that might not be for you. In fact, Joe Begos is an actual director that likes to kind of delve in the cult and sort of pastiche stylings of horror from his childhood and back in our days when we were kids as well. And I think a lot of people who are not very familiar with horror might not get the concept, but in the same regard, maybe they're just looking for a killer robotic Santa. So what is this story about? Well, you just heard it. A killer robotic Santa. It's Christmas Eve and Tori, this sort of record store, third-hand store, like, that sells movies and, you know, like records and all kinds of stuff. She wants to get drunk and party with one of her coworkers and meet a few friends along the way for Christmas. But a new robotic Santa Claus that's been on the market that was previously military grade, like fighting machines, has now been repurposed into a robotic Santa that goes haywire and goes back to its fighting style and starts murdering everybody in town. Sound pretty cool? I thought so. Like I said, this is not a movie that's going to be for your mainstream sort of fans. You know, this is a movie that's in the theater, but I mean, a lot of the big mainstream movies that are in the theater, typically, then this might not be a film for you. This is definitely more on the indie level approach. It's a Shudder original that actually is out on Shudder now, or you can go to the theater to see it, by the way. I think it'd be okay to go to both if you are into indie films. If you're not, again, probably not for you. This has a pretty big cast, you know. We get like Riley Dandy, Sam Delich, Jeff Daniels Phillips, who has also been a part of a lot of Rob Zombie's movies, which is kind of funny because some of the dialogue in this kind of reminded me of Rob Zombie's sort of cuss word stylings, I guess. We also have Abraham Ben-Ruby playing the robotic Santa. Plus, you know, you get some Joe Begos alums like Gipper Graham. We also have Jeremy Gardner, and Dora Madison is in this one. So it's got a big cast of pretty recognizable faces if you are a fan of Joe Begos. So what do I expect from this movie? Well, I was expecting this to be violent, bloody, not a huge story, but just kind of a romp down sort of a familiar nostalgic lane I used to kind of romp in when I was growing up as a kid, you know, seeing all these crazy movies, and I got exactly what I expected. Now, just to be clear, this is not a comedy movie, even though it is kind of schlocky. It's done in that sort of so bad it's good vein, you know, the 80s movies that we would get, so perfectly makes sense here because it is supposed to play it straight. This is not the heaviest storyline that is out there for horror, but sometimes, you know, horror doesn't need to be. It just needs to kind of be, this is happening and we don't know why. We don't always need answers in horror, guys. That's kind of the unknown is where horror thrives in. It's where it cultivates a space in which rationale and reality kind of battle over what's going on. This is a very straightforward movie. It's kind of a very pastiche, sort of retro stylings of other movies. Nothing one in particular, but maybe just like a handful of movies. Like, I don't know, like the beginning of the movie kind of reminded me of Singles in a way, but like if Rob Zombie did a remake of Singles and they were all cussing at each other a whole bunch, because there's some camaraderie between Riley Dandy's character and Sam Delich's character, who are co-workers and are going back and forth for a good 30 to 40 minutes of nonstop banter, talking about 80s movies, horror movies, bands, you know, that they might like or dislike, and kind of their back and forth nerding out over this sort of nostalgia. So he's doing a sort of love letter to this sort of genre and, you know, a lot of the stuff that maybe he grew up with as well. So some people may not like the beginning or the dialogue of the back and forth, but I think it does play a part in the movie because there is an impactful moment that happens about halfway into the movie where everything just goes bananas. So it's really like one act and then the second act, and then there's like a third 0.2 act or a second 0.5 act very close together, and there's a meatier portion towards the end, while there's still some killing and things going on in the beginning. This is extremely violent, and there is a lot of head popping and cutting and slicing and dicing, and even some stuff with kids that a lot of people are not very fond of, but I always appreciate because that's kind of realistic. And it's not that I enjoy seeing kids get fucking hacked to pieces, but let's just say it probably would happen in a lot of these scenarios, and people always avoid it. Well, not Joe, and we thank you for it. And maybe it's because I just don't have kids. Sorry, guys. I know it's like a whole different world when you do. This is a movie that kind of makes it seem a little bit bigger than it is. You know, it's Santa going on a killing spree as a robot. So use your imagination. I mean, they don't really use a real robot, although at one point they kind of do. They just use Abraham Ben Ruby as the sort of Santa in a sort of robot motion movie. So if you can tolerate that for the first half of the movie or so, then I think you'll be all right. If you like violence, gore, this is definitely your speed. I definitely enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I think it's a lot of fun, and it is a classic for the horror holidays. It is definitely one that I'm looking forward to buy. There's only 2 movies of Joe's that I don't own, and that's Almost Human and this one, and I'm looking forward to buying both at some point here. I don't think there's a Blu-ray release yet, but I'm sure at some point it'll come out. The acting in this movie, I would say, is above average, but you know, there's going to be some flaws in a lot of this stuff. It's an independent film. It's not perfect. It's just going for the goal of gore and entertainment and a few laughs and a few like, oh my God, I can't believe I saw that. Like people getting thrown around by a fucking giant robot. I mean, think about that, you know, like it's going to be strong as fuck, right? Because robots usually are in these movies. So, but I think it directly did what it was trying to do. And that was gore, nostalgia, pastiche, and have a lot of fun while building up a few characters to tear them right the fuck down. You know, these characters are very relatable because, you know, there's like in the alternative crowd, they're in the music, movies, all the same shit that, you know, horror fans pretty much are. Yeah, there could be some dialogue that I could see people getting upset about. It is a imperfect movie, but I still think it's a damn good one. And I'm kind of struggling. I'm like on a 7.5, maybe an 8 for an independent film, okay? Like this is an independent film trying to do something with a killer Santa, okay? This isn't Hereditary trying to do a killer Santa. And I think they did a damn good job at it. So I would give this a 7.5 or an 8. I definitely think this is worth watching. I'm definitely going to pick it up to own. If you're a fan of Begos, you'll enjoy this. If you're not, maybe not so much. You know, I saw some reviews and man, holy shit, dude. I don't know if like a church person like wandered into watching a killer Santa and thought, hey, glowing green eyes, bloody axe on the cover. This has got to be fucking Christian centric. I don't know, but they were like, what kind of abomination? It's like nightmares for like fucking weeks. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you think. Are you a Begos fan or are you not? Do you like some of his movies? Maybe not all of them. Are you going to watch this movie? I think this is definitely hands down the best Christmas horror movie we got this year. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming by and supporting this channel. It really means a lot to me. I hope you guys are having an amazing holiday season, and I hope this movie might actually add to that. Thanks for coming by. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe button and tickle that little bell, because every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings set on fire. Something like that. Thanks for coming by, and as always, long live the void.